The news continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. PHIVOLCS is still monitoring increased volcanic activities over at Mayon in Albay. Now, since yesterday until 5 in the morning today, 107 volcanic earthquakes and 241 rockfall events have been logged. A very slow effusion of lava also continued with lengths of up to 1.3 kilometers. Now, authorities are reminding locals and tourists that entry into the 6-kilometer danger zone is still prohibited, as well as the flying of aircraft near the volcano. Mayon remains under Alert Level 3, which has prompted evacuation of over 20,000 residents.
Sa ngayon, inobserbahan namin ano yung trend niya, tutuloy-tuloy ba yung volcanic earthquakes. Pero sa ngayon, based on our analysis sa mga volcanic earthquakes, mahina lang naman yung total energy niya. Marami siya, pero kumbaga yung lakas ng mga earthquakes na ito, may hina lamang. Kung magtuloy-tuloy ito at lumakas yung energy, maaaring sign yan na baka papunta na yung Mayon doon sa more active na phase at maaaring magkaroon ng isang hazardous eruption.
Over in Negros Oriental, public consultations are being held to seek the opinion of residents on the postponement of local elections there. We have Mon Gualvez this afternoon joining us live from Dumaguete City to give us an update. Mon, can you tell us how are the discussions going so far?
Riza, here in Dumaguete City, only a few residents are participating in COMELEC's public consultations regarding the postponement of the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections here. The public hearing kicked off at 2 p.m. at the Lamberto L. Marcias Sports and Cultural Complex in Barangay Taclobo in Dumaguete City. But more than 2 hours after it started, there were still not a lot of people speaking up on whether or not they agree to postpone the village and youth elections this October. For its part, COMELEC said it will not base their decision on the number of people who will attend the consultations, but on the arguments and pieces of evidence presented. Aside from households, it is also imperative that local law enforcement agencies participate, as they will be the ones overseeing the elections. If the barangay election pushes through, it must be ensured that election paraphernalia must be smoothly delivered to precincts and that residents would feel safe casting their vote. 9 out of 19 mayors have earlier requested to postpone the polls due to a supposed lingering atmosphere of terror and in the province. Among them is Pamplona Mayor Janice Degamo, whose husband, Governor Roel Degamo, was killed by armed men last March. On the other hand, the one lobbying for the polls to push through is the camp of the Teves family. Suspended Congressman R.D. Teves is being tagged as mastermind in the Degamo slaying. And Riza, this is the only day public consultations will be held here in Dumaguete City alone. But COMELEC has allotted 3 days for the public hearings, strategically spreading out the schedule to make sure all municipalities will be consulted. The poll body is expected to come up with a decision on the postponement of the BSKE by September. Riza?
Thank you for that update. That was Mon Gualvez reporting to us live from Dumaguete City. Now, moving on to another story, the Agriculture Department sees the need to import pork products until the end of the year. The DA explained that the spread of the African swine fever has already affected meat supply in the country. The agency is now coordinating with the private sector to determine how much pork products need to be imported. Meanwhile, AGA Party List Representative Nicanor Briones has called for a declaration of a state of calamity. This is to allow government to get its hands on more funds to procure vaccines against ASF. After hitting piggeries in Luzon, ASF spread in the Visayas next, although the Agriculture Department said this is now under control. The fishing ban in Pola, Oriental Mindoro stays, even as other towns in the province have already been allowed to lift theirs. In an interview with True FM, Pola Mayor Jennifer Cruz said they are continuously coordinating with those affected by the restriction. However, Cruz said she expects the fishing ban to be lifted sooner than later. Fisherfolk in Pola have been allowed to venture out to sea, but only off the waters of neighboring towns like Pinamalayan and Nauhan.
Mag-request din ako na baka pwedeng yung pag-test ng tubig sa ating dalampasigan sa bayan ng Pola, kung pwedeng mas mabilis, hindi abutin ng 2 linggo Kung kaya ng 2-3 days after, sige lang, para at least this coming Friday, Saturday, Sunday, makabalik ang ating mangingisda sa ating dalampisigan.
More stories coming your way after a quick break. Stay with us. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Russian President Vladimir Putin makes a public address for the first time since an aborted armed mutiny in his country. In a video statement, Putin thanked Wagner mercenary fighters and commanders who stood down to avoid bloodshed. Putin added that he would honor his promise to allow them to relocate to Belarus or sign a contract with the Russian government and return to their families. Wagner head Yevgeny Prigozhin said he never intended to overthrow the government. He explained that his only goal was to prevent the destruction of his troops and hold commanders accountable for botching China's military campaign in Ukraine.
Благодарю тех солдат и командиров группы «Вагнер», которые приняли единственно правильное решение. Не пошли на братоубийственное кровопролитие. Остановились у последней черты. Сегодня у вас есть возможность продолжить службу России, заключив контракт с Министерством обороны или другими силовыми органами, либо вернуться к своим родным и близким. Кто хочет, сможет уйти в Белоруссию. Данное мною обещание будет исполнено.
Meantime, U.S. President Joe Biden maintains that Washington and its allies were not involved in the rebellion. On Monday, Biden addressed the dramatic power struggle that erupted over the weekend in Russia. The U.S. president said he and his team would continue assessing the fallout from the incident, noting that it is still too early to reach a definitive conclusion on it.
The situation began to develop as it did. I directed my national security team to monitor closely and report to me hour by hour. I also convened our key allies on a Zoom call. They agreed with me that we had to make sure we gave Putin no excuse. Let me emphasize, we gave Putin no excuse to blame this on the West or to blame this on NATO. We made clear that we were not involved. We had nothing to do with it. This was part of a struggle within the Russian system.
Back here at home, let's take a quick look at today's other top stories. Over 1,500 foreign nationals and Filipinos were rescued in Las Piñas City after being victimized by human traffickers. Armed with arrest warrants, authorities raided 7 buildings and rescued workers of different descent, Vietnamese, Indonesian, and Malaysian nationals. The compounds were also raided for online casino operations. Oil companies are implementing an increase in pump prices following a rollback last week. Effective today, June 27, prices of gasoline are more expensive by 20 centavos per liter. Diesel and kerosene have also become pricier by over a peso per liter. The Energy Department attributed the hike to concerns over Saudi Arabia's most recent oil production cut. Health Secretary Ted Herbosa is planning to create a National Nursing Advisory Council to address issues concerning Filipino nurses. Herbosa says the Advisory Council will be composed of workers from both the public and private sectors and will be led by a de facto Chief Nursing Officer. The Chief Nursing Officer will have the designation of Undersecretary. One News Now will be back at 5:30 in the afternoon. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.